What could be the reason that America, despite being the world's largest oil producer, they cannot fully utilize their own oil even if they want to? It's like a farmer growing crops on his own land. But to use those crops, he has to rely on someone else's system. The world we actually live in. What you see in front of you and what you see behind you are not always the same. Similarly, millions of containers go from China to America every year. But a large part of those containers later lie unused. And how Iran, in the midst of all this, brings a huge plane like the Boeing 777 to its country. That too is a mysterious story, so let's know the whole thing in detail in today's episode. Millions of ships are constantly moving on the world's sea routes, and the modern world's economy survives on those ships. Almost 90% of world trade is carried out by sea. Thousands of container ships are crossing the vast oceans at any given moment, and on each ship there are thousands of iron boxes, which we know as containers. The clothes you are wearing, or the mobile phone you are holding, they have all traveled through this container at some point. From a distance, the whole thing seems very simple. A container full of goods will leave from one country. The container will return empty. Everything seems to be going very according to plan. But in reality, there is a huge inconsistency within this system. In the last few decades, China has become the world's factory. Their huge exports have created a huge trading empire. Millions of containers from China arrive at the ports of Europe and America every day. But that's where the real story of the problem begins. China's exports are much higher than those of Europe. And the picture is even different in the case of America. Because America is one of the largest consumer countries in the world. They import a lot of goods, but export relatively little. As a result of the containers that come to America from China, a large part of them are empty when they return. Now the question is, why aren't these empty containers sent back to China? Because sending empty containers back means additional costs. It costs thousands of dollars to send an empty container back. However, if a container with goods can be kept in the same place, then shipping companies can make a lot more profit. The most surprising thing is, China can make new containers at very low cost. In many cases, it is more profitable to make new containers than to send old ones back. As a result, thousands of containers lie around the world for years. Some people buy them to build small houses or warehouses. Many containers rust and become useless. These iron ore piles are actually silent evidence of the imbalance in world trade. Now let's come to the story of American oil. Currently, America is one of the largest oil-producing countries in the world, yet they import oil from abroad. Although it may sound strange, there is a technical reality behind it. The oil that is currently extracted from American soil is mainly a light type of oil, which is called light crude oil. But most of America's old refineries were built to process heavy and dense oil. At one time, they imported heavy oil from Venezuela and Mexico, and the entire infrastructure was built accordingly. Now, to completely change those refineries, it would require billions of dollars in investment, which is not possible in a very short time. As a result, America sells a large part of its light oil abroad and imports heavy oil from other countries and uses it in its own refineries. In addition, another major problem is the pipeline crisis. There is no easy way to reach all refineries from the places where oil is extracted. For example, even though a large amount of oil is produced in Texas, that oil cannot reach all parts of the country quickly. Again, in some states like California, the dependence on foreign energy is still very high. Now, if we look at international sanctions, something more surprising is seen. Strict US sanctions have been in place on Iran for many years. Yet, some of the country's airlines operate American Boeing and European Airbus aircraft. Recently, there has been a lot of international discussion regarding some Boeing 777 aircraft. These aircraft were previously owned by another airline and had been unused for a long time. Later, ownership was changed on paper through various third-party companies. The entire process was arranged in such a way that the real destination was not easily understood. Eventually, the aircraft reached Iran and were added to the country's airline fleet. By the time the whole issue comes to international discussion, it is too late. These events make one thing clear to us. The global economy is not just about money or goods. It involves politics, sanctions, strategies, sea routes, and international power plays. So in the future, when you hear about oil price increases, commodity shortages, or global economic problems, then remember, behind this lies a complex global reality, much of which remains hidden from the eyes of ordinary people.